magic happens and I make all the pens. I do it because I love giving to charity. And I've been doing it for a number of years, but now you have the opportunity to select that charity on my web store. So why do I do it? As a busy doctor looking after sick patients, I need time to unwind and relax, and this helps me do it. Today we're going to make a pen. For that, we will first cut this blank up, drill a hole, place the brass tube inside, glue it so that it doesn't move, bring it across to the lathe and turn the pen, and finally assemble it. So you get to see how this magic actually works. Let's measure this piece of wood. So I know that it's 58 centimeters, and make sure that it's square. Draw a line. You want to get the grain matching each other. So I put a line through and say 1 and 2. So have a look here. I've drawn a line and marked it as 1 and 2. So once I cut, when I'm making the pen, I know exactly how to match up the grain. We've cut the blank. Now we're going to get to the center of the blank. That's where we need to drill. So I use this really nice quality pencil, Picker Dry, to do a cross mark using a very high precision square by Veritas. And then I use an engineer's punch, and you can hear it making a click sound, to get the absolute center. So there you have it. All right, so this is a really important tool called the pen blank centering vise. And what this does is it helps you to drill the blank accurately. So I will place the blank into this centering vise. So there, it sits perfectly straight without any issues. Let's take this down to the drill machine. And my drill machine is very good in that it has got a laser marker, so I can actually see where the center punch that I have made stands in relation to the drill. But in addition to that, I physically check as well to ensure that I have centered it almost perfectly. And I can see it's not centered, so then I move it across till it's centered on 2 different dimensions. I'm pretty happy with that, and now I will clamp this into the machine and start the drilling process. So we've drilled the blank. I'm going to take the brass tube and glue it into this. So for that, first I need to prepare the brass tube by rubbing it onto sandpaper. Then I will take this pair of gloves so I don't soil my hands. So let's get the tube out from the pen kit. It's a very smooth tube, and so the glue does not adhere to this properly. So I'm going to rub it. If you have a look now, I've created a very rough surface so that the glue can adhere to it. So here's our drill blank, and I'm going to use cyanoacrylate super glue. I just draw lines over the brass tube. I turn it around so it's evenly glued up. Be generous with the glue. just poke it in there and remove any excess glue and then keep it aside, allowing it to dry. So we've waited for the glue to dry. I'm pretty satisfied now that the tube is very secure inside the blank, and we're actually going to now square this blank. This is extremely important, so you have to do it on both sides. So you can see that the blank is absolutely square and flush on both sides. We're now ready to turn the pen. So our blank is ready to be turned. It's really important to know what model of pen you are making. So we'll be making a Sierra Platinum and Black Titanium ballpoint pen. So I get my Sierra bushings. The importance of the bushing is that is the diameter to which you're actually going to turn your blank to. Now that I have that ready, I have the bits and pieces to put onto my lathe. Let's assemble it on the lathe. So these are fillers to get the right fit. And make sure that it is finger tight. Close the lathe, lock it in, tighten it up. This is a rest on which my turning tool is going to sit, and this is the backbone of how I rest my tool and have the ability to turn precisely. We are ready to turn. Let's do some turning. So I'm opening up my precious tool cabinet, and as you can see, I have a huge variety of tools in here. But my favorite tool to use these days is the Easywood Pro Series, which has got a carbide tip. And if you notice here, it's got a very good protective guard, so I can actually protect my face and I don't have to be a patient. Let's not forget to put on our mask for our protection. I'll also get my headgear. And now I'm ready to turn. So you can see with my turning, I have now brought it to almost the correct diameter, leaving it slightly proud so I can do the final sanding. The finishing process takes a long time. So to start off the finishing process, you have to sand your blank. I go through various different grits of sandpaper, starting from 180 grit, 240, 320 and 400. And then I go to the micro mesh sanders. I start at 1500 grit, going right up to 12,000 grit. All right, let's do some sanding. It's really important that you cross sand. So once I finish doing it with the lathe on, I actually turn the blank and cross sand with my hand. That way, any ridges or elevations will be taken out. So I've completed sanding right up to 400 grit, and now I'm going to go with the micro mesh sanding, starting at 1500 grit. Don't forget to cross sand. So now that we have finished sanding, you can see that there are absolutely no sand marks, and it's as soft as a baby's bum. The next process is actually very long and takes a lot of practice and finesse. I use cyanoacrylate glue and 20 coats over this blank, with the process of sanding in between, and then finally bringing up the polish using a wet sanding techniques, again going from 1500 to 12,000 grit. Alright, so this is the kit that I'm using. You have to obviously plan this right at the beginning. So this is the mechanism that will sit inside the brass tubing. I always use the Schmid refills, which are German, and they are absolutely excellent. This is the back end of the pen that clips on to your pocket, and this is the front end of the pen. So let's assemble this together. I would like to showcase as much of the beautiful section of this Bethlehem olive wood. So I'm choosing to actually assemble it with the back end going towards the more plain section of the timber. So I'll just gently do that first by hand. And then I'm going to come across to this pen assembly jig. Now it's really important to know that when you assemble this, there's going to be friction across that pen. So what you want to do is to put a piece of cardboard to prevent the metal from scratching your finish. And then you bring it to your assembly jig. And you can see I'm putting it in between the centers there, and very gently begin to push this into place. And you get a good tight grip. And remember, the paper is always there so that you're not scratching the finish. There you go. The back has been assembled. And the front for this particular kit is pretty easy. You take the refill, stick it into the front end, close the mechanism. It's got a screw closing. It's closed, and you can see this is the mechanism. It's a twist mechanism to open and close the pen. And then using a soft surface underneath, you basically push the pen all the way in. And there you go. You've got a magnificent Bethlehem olive wood, Sierra, platinum and black titanium pen.